In this video, we're going to be talking about, once again, operators and operands in Python, and we're going to look more into detail about some newer operands that we haven't seen yet. All right, so first, let's declare some variables here, because we're going to go over the first few basic operands that we've already seen, and then we're going to look at the more advanced ones. So let's say that, for example, boat was equal to 10, and let's say the sail was equal to 5. And what we can simply do with the plus operand, which is the first operand we're going to be talking about, is we can simply just add these two numbers together. So boat plus sail, that's 10 plus 5, gives us 15. So that makes intuitive sense. Now, we can do the exact same thing with strings as well. So let's say food type was equal, or let's just say food was equal to pizza. And let's say my drink was equal to, let's say, soda. Now, what I can do, similar to integers or these numbers here, it can work with floats and whatnot. We can also add these two strings together. So we can say food plus drink, and then we would get pizza soda. Just like that. Now that makes intuitive sense. I can add two strings together. Now what happens if I try to add a number and a string together? Well, let's check out what happens. So we're going to do boat plus food. And what this gives me is an error. So it gives me an error that says unsupported operand types for plus int and str. Now, the reason this is happening is because we can't add a string and a number together. So what we have to do is we actually need to convert one of them into the same type. And while we can't convert a string into a number, we can convert a number into a string. Right? This 10 can become 10 like that. So that's the same thing. And so the way we're going to do that is we can just say str of boat, that converts the number into a string, and then plus food this time. And that's going to add the two strings, right? This is now a string plus this string, and now we get 10 pizza. So that makes sense, right? And we have to always remember that when we're adding strings together or concatenating strings, we need to convert them into a string first. All right. So the next thing we have is the minus sign, or subtraction. And subtraction also makes intuitive sense because we have addition, right? So if I wanted to print boat minus sail this time, I can do that and I'll get a result of 5, right? That's 10 minus 5. Now, what happens if we say, food minus drink? Now, this doesn't really make any sense, right? We're trying to subtract pizza, or trying to subtract soda from pizza. Well, that doesn't really make any sense because what are we subtracting it based off of, right? There's no baseline behind this subtraction. Adding it made sense. We're just combining the two, but subtracting doesn't really make any sense because soda isn't even part of pizza. So what are we subtracting here? And so if we try this, it'll just give us an error because it's an unsupported operand for subtraction for string and string. All right, so that's pretty much the subtraction. The next thing we have is multiplication. Now, what happens, if we multiply boat by sail? Well, let's think about this. Boat has a value of 10, and sail has a value of 5. If we do 10 times 5, we get 50. So that makes sense. Now, what happens if we try to multiply two strings together? So let's do food times drink. And well, we get a error that says can't multiply sequence by non-int of type string. So what that kind of is hinting at us is that we might be able to multiply a string by something else. And what can we multiply a string by? Well, we can multiply a string by a integer. And what that's going to do is you can kind of think about it as repeating the same string that many times. So let's say we had a boat, or let's say we wanted the pizza 5 times. So what we would do is we would just say print 5 times food. And food in this case, once again, is pizza. So if we do print 5 times food, we would simply just get pizza, 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 pizza. So pizza 5 times. And you can see that it works perfectly fine here. And we can do the same thing with variables. So let's say sale was still 5. So we're going to do sale times food. And we would expect the exact same string here. And as you can see, pizza, 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 and then pizza. Okay, so we can pretty much, in summary, so far what we've learned is we can add 2 numbers, we can add strings, and we can add numbers and strings as long as we convert the number into a string. We can subtract numbers, we can't subtract strings, we can multiply 2 numbers together, we can't multiply 2 strings together, but we can multiply a number and a string. Okay, so that's pretty much the first 3. Next, we have 3 more, and the 3 more are pretty special. So the next one I want to talk about is the division sign. And we use the slash to indicate we're dividing something. So once again, we're going to take our variables boat and sail, and what we're going to do is we're going to print boat divided by sail. Now what happens is it gives us 2.0. And that makes sense because boat is 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. But now the question is, why is it giving me 2.0? And the reason it's going to give us 0.0 at the end is because we're using this specific division sign. And this specific division sign actually allows us, or it actually converts the final answer to a decimal. And this is useful because let's say we were printing a number or we were dividing a number that isn't perfectly divisible. Let's say 5 divided by 2. In this case, we would expect 2.5, and that's exactly what we would get. Now, if you've seen other programming languages, you would have seen that when we divide 2 integer data types together, or we divide them, we would expect to see an integer in the end. And this is actually pretty useful as well. Sometimes, in most cases, we might want to do this. And the way we can do that is we can simply say print boat / sail. So we're actually going to be using 2 slashes in this case because we want to take the rounded down answer of our division. So no longer is it going to give us 2.0, it's going to give us plain old 2. So you can see here, if we do the exact same thing with 5 divided by 2, once again, this / takes boat divided by sail, and then basically removes all the 0.0, point whatever afterwards. So 5 divided by 2, if we did 5 / 2, we would actually expect 2. Because 5 / 2, take the result, 2.5, and then remove all the decimal, so 2. And there we go. Now, this doesn't work with strings because that wouldn't make any sense, right? Intuitively, how would we divide a string by a number or a string by a string? It doesn't really make any sense. Now, the final operand that I want to talk to you guys about is the modulus. And the modulus is actually really important as well. Now, this is probably one of the most powerful ones, and we're going to look at an example of where this can be used. Now, the way it's going to work is that we're just going to first explain what it basically does. So what the modulus does is it essentially takes your number, takes the first number, divides it by the second number, and instead of getting what the quotient is, instead it's going to actually give us the remainder. So you can see boat divided by sail actually gets a remainder of 0 because 5 goes into 10 exactly twice. Now let's see what happens if we try 5 modulos 2. Well, if we did 5 divided by 2, we would get an answer or a quotient of 2, and we would actually get a remainder of 1, right? 2 fits into 5 2 times with 1 left over. And so we would get a result of 1. Now, this modulo sign is very, very important because what happens if we take the negative modulus of a number? Now, the negative modulus, what I'm basically saying is 5 mod negative 2. And we should actually expect negative 1. Now, this is pretty important to note. And what essentially in most programming languages do, they actually just take the numbers, mod them, and then convert the answer to a negative number. But it isn't always correct. So watch out for that. But in Python, I believe it's actually completely true. So let's take, for example, 2 modulus negative 1. And we see here, we get an answer of 0. And that makes sense, because when we divide it, we would get a negative answer, and the remainder is 0. Okay, great. So that's pretty much the modulus. Now, the modulus is still powerful. I haven't explained all of it. And one key feature of modulus is we can kind of think about it as, with this specific example, I'll actually show you guys. It's actually going to allow us to extract information from a number. And let me actually make my screen just a tiny bit smaller so you can see these little hints here. Now, what happens if we take like a large number, like 1, 2, 3, and modulus it by 10, mod it by 10? Well, let's see exactly what's going to happen. Well, before that happens, let's consider what happens. So 1, 2, 3, 123 divided by 10, so that's going to give us 12, with a remainder of 3. So our remainder is 3. Now what happens if we do 1, 2, 3 mod 100? Now 123 divided by 100 just gives us an answer of 1, because 100 fits into 123 exactly once, and then it will just give us an answer of 23 left over. Finally, let's see what happens if we do 1000. Well, a number modulos a larger number than itself is just going to give us the number itself. Now, one little pattern that you might be able to see here is that it works backwards, and it keeps continuing to expand the number of numbers that we're looking at. So at first it looked at 3, then it looked at 3 and then 2, and then finally it looked at 3, 2, and then 1. So with this, we can kind of see a little useful thing here. And the useful thing that we're actually seeing is, notice that whenever we want to, for example, extract some data from this number right now, we can use the modulos. And then we can also use the division sign to, for example, extract even more information. So let's say I have the problem, given a 3-digit integer, find the sum of the digits. For example, 1, 2, 3, so 123, this would actually give me 1 plus 2 plus 3. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, that gives me 6, and that's my final answer. So how would I actually go about doing this? Well, what I can do is notice that here I've already extracted the last digit. So I know that this is going to be part of my answer. Then here, what I've done is I extracted the last 2 digits. But say I wanted to just get the second digit here, or this digit at the front. What I can do is I can remove this, the front part, by simply dividing it by 10, right? And make sure you're flooring it down. Because essentially what we're doing if we're dividing a number by 10, rounded down with the double slashes, it's essentially removing the last digit. If we divide a number by 100, rounded down, it's essentially removing the last 2 digits. And so let's actually see that in action. So let's just clear this part. So let's just print 1, 2, 3 mod 10. So that's going to be the last digit. If I wanted the second last digit, so this 2 right here, I would do 1, 2, 3 mod 100, and then divide it by 10, rounded down, to take away the last part. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3 mod 10, and then rounded down, divided by 10. Now you can kind of see what happened here. We actually got a remainder of 0. And the reason that is because I didn't divide it by modulus it by 100. Okay, so we can get that, and we get the second digit. Now, if we wanted to get this last digit here, or the first digit at the front, we modulus it by 1000 this time, but divide it by 100 to extract the last 2 digits. So let's do that. And then divide it by 100. Great. So we get 1, 2, and then 3. Now to find the sum, all we would have to do is say, let's take an input for some number. And we're going to ask, please enter a 3-digit number. Now, what's already wrong with this? There's already an issue. And the issue here is that input here, the function, actually takes in user input correctly, but it actually stores it as a string. So what we're going to have to do is convert this to an integer. So please enter a 3-digit number. Let's say 746. And the sum of the digits in 746 is actually going to be 17. So what we're going to do is we're going to say first digit is equal to, so the frontmost digit right here, so 7. We can extract that by doing this operation right here. So we're going to say it's equal to num mod 1000, and then divided by 100 rounded down. The second digit is equal to num mod 100 divided by 10. And then the third digit is equal to num mod 10. And then finally, if I just wanted to find the sum of the digits, all I would have to do is say print first digit plus second digit plus third digit. And I get a sum of 17. Now let's say we wanted to reconstruct the original number, 746. Well, all we'd have to do is convert each one of these to a string. So once we convert each one of these to a string, it's going to concatenate them instead of add them like regular numbers. And we get the final answer of 746. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is these magical operands that allow us to not only update some value, but reassign it. So let's say once again, we had boat is equal to 10 and sail is equal to 5. So let's redefine that. Boat is equal to 10, sail is equal to 5. And I'm going to redefine it here just for convenience so that you guys remember what these numbers are. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to learn about the plus equal sign. And the plus equal sign is actually really useful in that, for example, if we wanted to update the value of boat here, and we wanted to update it to increase it by 2, for example, we could say boat is equal to boat plus 2. And what this would actually do is it would say boat, right? It would take the value of boat. It would just extract it. It wouldn't modify it. It's going to add 2 to it, so 10 plus 2. And what it's going to do is assign boat the value of the right side. So whenever there's an equal sign, it's always going to evaluate the right side first and then assign it to whatever's on the left side. So in this case, boat is equal to 10, add 2 to it, so 12. And now boat is equal to 12. So if I print out boat, we can see that it's equal to 12. Now another way of writing this, instead of writing boat is equal to boat plus 2, is we can simply write boat plus equals 2. And this is literally the equivalent of writing boat is equal to boat plus 2. So now if I print this out, I can see that it should equal to 14 because previously boat is 12. Adding 2 to it gives us 14. So you can see here, it's pretty useful in that we can shorten down our code by quite a bit. All right, so the next thing we have is we can do the exact same thing with the subtraction sign. we can say boat minus equals 2. And if we print this out, we should expect 14 minus 2, giving us an answer of 12. Okay, cool. So we can do that exact same thing with strings as well. But remember, we can't subtract two strings together, or two strings and an integer, for example. But we can add a string and a string. So what we can do is we can say boat, or let's say we went back and looked for some food and drink. So let's actually redefine those. So food is equal to pizza, drink is equal to soda. And what we can do is we can say food plus equals drink. Now, what would this actually do? Well, this is the exact same thing as saying food is equal to food plus soda, or food plus drink. And what this would actually do is it would say food plus drink, giving me pizza, soda, and assign it to food. Now, what you can realize is that if we do this, we update the value of food. But I can do this another way by simply just saying plus equals drink. And what that's going to do is you can kind of think about it simply. We're just adding soda to the pizza. And so if we click enter and print out food, we get pizza, soda. Pretty simple, right? We can do the exact same thing with the multiplication sign. So let's say we wanted to reset food back to pizza. And we can multiply pizza a number of times. Remember how we could say food is equal to, for example, food times 5, right? Food times 5 works. We're going to evaluate the right side and then assign it to whatever's on the left. So food times 5 gives us pizza, 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 pizza. But let's say I wanted to just multiply by 5 without writing all this code. I can just write times equals 5. And this will actually give me pizza, 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 pizza 5 times. And so that's pretty useful, right? So instead of writing food is equal to food times 5, we just multiply by 5. Cool. So let's reset food back to pizza so we don't have too much pizza on our plate. And what we're going to do is we're just going to say, for example, boat divided equals by sail. Now, right now, let's see what the values of boat and sail are. We can see that boat is equal to 12 and sail is equal to 5. Now, what I can do is I can actually divide these using the divide equals sign. So let's say I wanted to reassign the value of boat, but divided by sail. What I can do is I can say boat divided equals by sail. Now, if we print out boat, we get 2.4. So it updated the boat directly. Okay, so let's reset boat back to equals to 10. And let's see what would happen if we said boat / equals sail. Well, what would happen is we would expect it to equal to 2. So let's print out boat, and we get exactly that, so 2. Because we took boat, divided by 5, and then reassigned it to the boat variable. Okay, and we can do the exact same thing with the modulo sign. So let's reset boat back to equal to 10. And if we took boat mod equals to sail, well, let's think about this. What is this equal to? This is just equal to boat mod sail. And well, boat mod sail gives us 0 because boat is equal to 10. So to make this a little more interesting, let's set boat equal to 12. And let's relook at what it's going to be. So it's going to be boat mod sail. So 12 mod 5. And what it's going to do is reassign that to boat. And we can do that by simply doing this. And by clicking enter, we've successfully done it. And by printing boat, we get the remainder of 12 divided by 5, which is 2. And that makes sense. because 5 goes into 12 at most 2 times, with a remainder of 2 left over. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. In this video, you pretty much learned about the operands, how to manipulate strings and integers together, the cool properties of a modulus sign, and the assignment operators using the arithmetic operands.